Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today on this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where ordinary-looking pocket change can sometimes turn into a life-changing fortune. And today we are diving deep into the story of the 1977 1-cent coin that has been reported to carry an astonishing value of up to $38 million. A coin that on the surface looks like a simple Lincoln cent minted during a common year, but because of extraordinary mistakes, minting errors, and unique circumstances surrounding its creation and survival, it has risen from being just another copper-plated piece of metal into one of the most desirable numismatic items in the world. So sit back and let's unfold layer by layer how such a small coin could achieve such staggering worth and what possibilities make it so incredibly valuable, because understanding this is not just about coins. It is about history, rarity, human error, and the way collectors view scarcity and uniqueness as priceless. The 1977 1-cent coin initially seems like an ordinary member of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, designed by Victor David Brenner with the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints without any special fanfare. And yet hidden among the millions that were produced there exist rare variants that break away from the norm, coins with doubling, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die cuds, lamination errors, transitional metal planchet mistakes, and other anomalies that not only make them visually striking but astronomically valuable to collectors. And the story of the 1977 1-cent reaching a reported value of $38 million is rooted in the sheer combination of extreme rarity and the narrative behind the mistakes that occurred in the minting process. Consider first the concept of doubling errors, one of the most famous and desirable mistakes in coin collecting, where the image or lettering appears to have been struck more than once, resulting in a doubled image that is visible to the naked eye, and in the case of some 1977 cents, doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the motto, "In God We Trust," creates a striking effect that makes the coin stand out from every normal cent produced that year. And when you couple that with a coin struck in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, the rarity intensifies dramatically, adding layers of desirability. But the doubling is just one possibility, because 1977 also saw coins being struck with off-center designs where part of Lincoln's head or the memorial was cut off by the edge of the planchet, sometimes leaving blank crescents of metal or partial images that seem ghostly, and depending on how far off-center the strike occurred, the rarity and value increase, with perfectly balanced off-center errors being some of the most visually dramatic and collectible. Then we have broad strike errors, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking is missing or malfunctioning, causing the coin to spread outward in a strange shape, a mistake that is rare enough to catch any collector's eye and certainly something that in combination with other errors could elevate the value even higher. One of the most intriguing error categories for the 1977 1-cent involves planchet issues, because during this era the transition between copper and copper-plated zinc was looming, and sometimes blank planchets from previous years or experimental metals could find their way into the presses, creating transitional errors that are worth a fortune. And if a 1977 cent was mistakenly struck on a silver dime planchet, a foreign coin blank, or even a leftover steel planchet, the uniqueness would be unparalleled, pushing its value into the realm of millions, and collectors cherish such oddities because they are literal one-of-a-kind accidents that cannot be reproduced. Imagine also a coin struck with a misaligned die, where the obverse and reverse do not properly line up, resulting in images that are shifted or rotated, and sometimes both dies are out of place, causing partial designs and creating a fascinating piece of minting history. And when you combine these mistakes with the survival of a coin in superb condition, uncirculated, or even graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, you have a recipe for something that goes from pocket change to priceless artifact. Now let us not forget die cracks and cuds, where damage or breaks in the minting dies caused raised lines, blobs, or missing parts of the design on the finished coin, making every such coin unique. And for the 1977 cent, dramatic die cracks running across Lincoln's face or spreading through the memorial create a visual oddity that collectors find irresistible, and if the cut or crack is especially large, obliterating part of the design, the rarity multiplies exponentially. Lamination errors are another fascinating possibility, where impurities or flaws in the metal cause layers of the coin to peel away, flake, or bubble, and in the case of 1977 cents such errors create coins that look torn or scarred yet are worth fortunes because they capture a minting flaw frozen in time. Furthermore, there are coins that exhibit multiple errors at once, such as a doubled die that is also off-center and struck on the wrong planchet, And those spectacular error combinations are so rare that their value skyrockets beyond imagination, leading to the possibility of a single coin fetching millions. And this is exactly how the legendary 1977 1 cent with its rumored worth of $38 million has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. To truly understand why someone would pay such a staggering sum, we need to recognize the psychology of collecting, where rarity, beauty, historical context, and the story behind an item all come together to create perceived value far beyond the face value, and the 1977 cent is a perfect example because it embodies the chance, error, and human fallibility of the minting process while also standing as a symbol of how an everyday object can become a treasure. Some reports suggest that a small batch of 1977 cents was accidentally struck with experimental materials or unfinished dies, making them essentially test strikes that were never meant to be released, and when even one of these surfaces, it becomes a numismatic miracle, a discovery that redefines rarity. Consider also the grading scale, where coins are measured from poor condition to mint state perfection, and a 1977 cent with errors graded at MS 68 or higher could become almost impossible to replicate, driving its desirability beyond calculation. And when a wealthy collector enters the bidding war, prices can reach astronomical levels, which is why figures like $38 million, though shocking, suddenly seem within the realm of possibility. Another fascinating layer is the role of provenance in auction history, because when a coin has a famous ownership record, such as being part of a renowned collection or appearing in legendary auctions, its value is further enhanced, and if the 1977 cent in question has a backstory involving notable numismatists, secret discoveries, or dramatic unveiling at auction, it adds intangible but powerful value that collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for. Beyond errors and mistakes, we must also think about how the number of surviving examples influences rarity, because if only one or two coins with a specific error survive from the millions minted, they become unique artifacts, and in numismatics uniqueness is king, with collectors competing fiercely to own the only example in existence, pushing the price ever higher. For the 1977 cent, reports suggest that certain extreme errors are represented by only a single coin, making them truly unique, and that uniqueness is what justifies the monumental value, because unlike artwork that can be reproduced or modern collectibles that can be mass-produced, a mint error coin is the product of a single moment of human or mechanical failure, never to be repeated. The allure of such coins also comes from the thrill of the hunt, because every person who checks their change, every collector who sorts through rolls of pennies, dreams of stumbling across that one miraculous coin that changes their life, and the 1977 cent has become a symbol of that dream, a reminder that treasures can still hide in plain sight. Now, when you imagine a coin combining a dramatic double die with an off-metal planchet and an uncirculated grade, you begin to understand how its price could climb to $38 million, because each of those factors alone is valuable, but combined they create something beyond measure, something that transcends normal collecting into the realm of legendary artifacts. And while skeptics might question such astronomical values, history shows us that rare coins like the 1794 flowing hair dollar or the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle have sold for tens of millions, so the idea of a 1977 cent achieving $38 million is not impossible. It is part of the same pattern where rarity, condition, and collector passion align to rewrite the record books. Ultimately, the 1977 1 cent worth $38 million is not just about a piece of metal but about the story of errors, the beauty of imperfections, the unpredictable nature of minting, and the extraordinary lengths collectors will go to for the chance to own something no one else can possess, and that is what makes this tiny coin so fascinating and so valuable. Next, we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a journey that takes us straight into the mystery and value behind the 1987 1 cent coin, a coin that under normal circumstances is worth no more than a penny in your pocket, but in certain rare cases has been valued as high as $6 million because of the astonishing errors and mistakes that slipped through the United States Mint's quality control process and ended up in circulation, turning an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure for those who are lucky enough to find it. And today we're going to explore not only the incredible background of the 1987 penny but also the kinds of minting errors and mistakes that can transform this humble coin into something worth millions, and why collectors around the world chase these anomalies with such passion. So let's begin by considering the context of 1987, a year in which the Lincoln Memorial cent was still being struck in huge numbers following the 1982 transition from bronze to copper-plated zinc, meaning that most of the 1987 cents you'll find are made of a zinc core with a thin copper coating. But what makes this year so intriguing is the fact that a variety of errors appeared in different mint facilities, and those errors are the reason a select few examples have fetched unbelievable prices. And when we say errors, we are talking about a wide spectrum of possibilities, ranging from double dies, off center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, struck through errors, missing letters, and even rare transitional planchet mistakes that can occur when leftover metal blanks from earlier years are accidentally used in production. So imagine pulling out change from your pocket and seeing a 1987 penny that looks a little different. Perhaps the lettering is doubled. Perhaps Lincoln's portrait looks shadowed because of a doubled die, or maybe the coin looks like it was pressed off center, giving it an unusual crescent-shaped blank area. These are exactly the types of irregularities that can skyrocket the value, and collectors are especially keen on double die obverse or reverse varieties because they produce coins that are visually dramatic, showing obvious doubling in areas such as "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" or even the date itself, and when such an error is strong and clear, it becomes highly desirable. Now another major type of error that has been associated with the 1987 1 cent is the off-metal strike, meaning coins that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations or compositions. And if a 1987 cent was struck on a bronze planchet leftover from before 1983 or on a dime planchet or foreign coin blank, that makes it incredibly rare. These are the kinds of specimens that attract huge bidding wars at auctions, sometimes skyrocketing into millions, and part of the reason the 1987 cent has achieved this legendary $6 million valuation in stories told among collectors is because of the confluence of rarity, condition, and error type, because in the world of numismatics rarity is everything, and an error that only appears in one or two known examples immediately becomes a trophy coin, something that advanced collectors and investors are willing to pay astonishing amounts for. And if you think about the possibilities, there are so many fascinating error types that could exist for a 1987 penny, such as a broad strike, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar and expands outward giving it a flattened look, or a die clash error where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghost-like impressions of the designs on each side, or even a struck-through error where a piece of debris, cloth, or grease gets in the way during striking and leaves an unusual mark or missing detail. And it's precisely these irregularities that fuel the stories of coins being worth far more than face value. And when collectors and treasure hunters hear about a 1987 penny being sold or appraised at $6 million, it excites the imagination and encourages people everywhere to start checking their change, because you never know what you might have in a jar at home or tucked away in an old wallet. And what's also fascinating about the 1987 cent is that it represents a time when minting technology was advanced but not yet immune to human error and machinery wear. Meaning mistakes could and did happen, and these mistakes slipped through and entered circulation. Today we can list a variety of specific error categories that make 1987 cents so intriguing, starting with double dies, which happen when a die receives multiple impressions at slightly misaligned positions, leading to doubled images on the coins it strikes. Then we have repunched mint marks, where the small letter indicating the mint location, whether it be D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, is punched into the die more than once and creates a shadow or overlapping appearance. We also have die cracks and cuds, where pieces of the die break or crack and transfer raised lines or blobs onto the coin surface, making each one unique. Then we have off-center strikes, where coins are not properly centered during striking and end up showing incomplete designs with blank metal on one side. And these can be very collectible depending on how far off-center they are. The more dramatic the error, the higher the value. And in addition to these mechanical errors, there are transitional planchet errors, one of the most desirable categories, where coins are accidentally struck on the wrong metal composition. And because the mint switched from bronze to zinc in 1982, any 1987 penny struck on a leftover bronze planchet would be a major rarity, adding to the mystique. And we can't forget about wrong denomination errors, like if a 1987 penny were struck on a dime blank, which is smaller and silver colored, producing a coin that looks bizarre and instantly collectible. And with all these possibilities, it becomes clear why the 1987 1 cent is not just another coin but a canvas for rare mistakes that drive its potential value into the millions. Now when we talk about why one specific example might reach $6 million, it's often because of a perfect storm of circumstances, such as an error so bold that it is instantly recognizable, combined with a pristine condition graded by professional services at the highest levels like MS-67 or MS-68, plus the fact that perhaps only one or two examples are known. And when a coin like that comes to auction, the world's top collectors bid furiously because they want to own a piece of history that no one else has. and in such cases prices can soar into record territory, creating headlines that fuel the legend of the coin even further, making everyday people believe that any 1987 penny might hold such value. And while most 1987 pennies are common and only worth face value, the thrill lies in the possibility that a rare era coin could be sitting undiscovered, waiting to change someone's life, and this possibility is what keeps the coin collecting hobby vibrant and exciting, because each coin in circulation is like a lottery ticket. Most are ordinary but a few are jackpots, and the 1987 cent is one of those jackpot stories, because it represents not just a simple minting accident but the kind of discovery that can put a collector into the spotlight and rewrite the record books. And as we reflect on why this coin is so valuable, we have to understand that collectors place enormous emphasis on provenance and uniqueness, so when a coin is proven to be genuine, authenticated, and unique in its era, its value skyrockets, especially when wealthy collectors are competing for it. And we should also think about the role of auction houses, which sometimes publicize these discoveries and create the buzz that drives up the final hammer price, because publicity adds to the aura of rarity, and over time stories grow, transforming a 1987 penny with a spectacular era into the legend of a $6 million cent. And beyond the financial aspect, there is also the historical and educational importance, because these coins tell us about the minting process, how it can go wrong, and how such errors slip past inspection, reminding us that even highly organized systems are not perfect. And so the 1987 1 cent becomes not just a piece of currency but a teaching tool for understanding minting technology, numismatic study, and the broader culture of collecting. And that's why this story resonates so deeply, because it's about discovery, chance, history, and value all rolled into a tiny copper-plated coin. And as we wrap this exploration, it's clear that the fascination with the 1987 1 cent valued at $6 million lies in the unique combination of mint errors, the excitement of the hunt, and the possibility that ordinary people could stumble upon extraordinary wealth through something as simple as a penny. So if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins and the incredible story of the 1987 penny, make sure to stay connected for more fascinating discoveries, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends who might have a jar of pennies waiting to be checked, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another amazing story about coins that could be worth a fortune. Today we are exploring the story of the 2017 1 cent coin, a humble penny from Denver that has captured the attention of collectors and enthusiasts around the world because of its bizarre errors and mistakes that have transformed it from a simple copper-plated zinc piece into a coin worth as much as $4 million, a staggering figure that nobody would ever imagine when looking at what is usually considered the lowest denomination of American currency. And yet, this is the magic of numismatics, where history, rarity, minting quirks, and human curiosity all come together to create incredible stories and incredible values. And as we journey into the details of this coin, we will uncover what makes the 2017 penny so unusual, how small errors and tiny oversights at the United States Mint can lead to astronomical prices, and why this coin has become such a desirable prize for collectors who dream of stumbling across one in pocket change or tucked away in an old jar of coins. Because the truth is that while billions of pennies are minted every year, only a handful come out with strange anomalies, and it is those anomalies that make the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth millions. And the 2017 penny is one of those legends in the making, a modern-day marvel born out of mistakes, chance, and the relentless passion of those who search for rare currency. And as we walk through this story, we will examine the possible errors that can be found on this coin, from die cracks to misaligned strikes, doubled dies, plating blisters, off-center strikes, broad strikes, filled dies, missing letters, and all the other possibilities that could have contributed to the incredible value assigned to this particular cent. And to understand why this coin is so special, we must first step back and look at the background of the 2017 penny, a year that was not particularly known for groundbreaking design changes but did carry some significance because the Philadelphia Mint issued a Mint mark on cents for the very first time in history, marking the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint, while the Denver Mint continued to produce its usual output marked with the familiar Mint mark. And though billions of 2017 cents were produced, the massive scale of production at times opens the door to errors because machinery runs at incredible speeds, dies wear down, planchets misfeed, and quality control, while strict, cannot catch every single imperfection. And it is from these imperfections that treasures emerge. So when we talk about a 2017 penny worth $4 million, we are really talking about a coin that somehow slipped through with a mistake so dramatic or a set of errors so unique that it captured the imagination of collectors everywhere. And what might those errors be, you may ask? Well, let's start with one of the most famous and desirable mistakes in modern coinage, the doubled die, where the design elements appear doubled because of a misalignment during the die creation process. And while doubled dies are relatively rare in modern times due to improved technology, they do still occur, and a doubled die on a 2017 D penny could mean extra lines on Lincoln's eye, doubled lettering on the words Liberty or I and God We Trust, or an unusual shadow effect on the date itself. And when collectors discover these anomalies, the value skyrockets, sometimes reaching thousands and in rare cases millions if the coin is the only known example. But that is not the only type of error to consider, because another highly collectible mistake comes from off-center strikes where the planchet, or blank coin, is not properly seated in the press, and as a result the strike lands partially off the surface, leaving part of the design missing and part of the blank metal exposed. And depending on how severe the off-center strike is, these can be worth a fortune, with perfectly off-center coins showing just the right amount of missing design often commanding the highest prices. And a 2017 D penny with such an error would immediately draw huge collector attention. But then there are broad strike errors where the collar that keeps the coin in place fails, causing the coin to spread out flatter and wider than normal, producing a strange and desirable shape. And then there are clipped planchets where a coin is missing a crescent-shaped piece because of miscut blanks, and these too can raise value tremendously. But what makes the 2017 D story even more interesting is the possibility of multiple errors occurring on a single coin, because while a single error can make a coin valuable, when you have a doubled die combined with an off-center strike, or a broad strike combined with a missing letter, you suddenly have an extraordinary rarity. And it is exactly these extreme combinations of mistakes that push coins into the multi-million-dollar range, and experts believe that the $4 million 2017 D penny achieved its incredible worth because of a one-of-a-kind error that cannot be replicated and has never been seen before, possibly a die clash where designs from both sides of the coin transfer to each other, leaving ghost-like impressions of Lincoln's bust on the reverse or the memorial building elements on the obverse, or perhaps even a mule error where the obverse of a cent was struck with the reverse of another denomination, creating an unimaginable rarity. And while the exact nature of the mistake remains shrouded in speculation and legend, what is clear is that collectors value it as unique, and uniqueness is everything in the world of rare coins, because when you have the only one of something, there is no price ceiling, and the bidding wars between wealthy collectors can drive values into the stratosphere. And what makes it so compelling is that the 2017 D penny is still a modern coin that could, in theory, still be out there in circulation, waiting to be discovered in everyday change, making it not just a story of rarity but also a story of hope, because thousands of people search through pennies every day in hopes of finding that one life-changing coin. And in the case of the 2017 D penny, that dream is real because it has already proven itself capable of commanding millions. So let us continue to unravel the many layers of mistakes that might contribute to such a price. And another important error to consider is die deterioration doubling, which, though not as dramatic as a true doubled die, can cause thick, distorted letters and numbers that look unusual and can be highly collectible, especially when paired with other oddities. And then there are struck-through errors where foreign material like grease, cloth, or even small metal fragments get between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving behind impressions or voids that make the coin unique. And in some cases coins have been struck through screws, staples, and other bizarre objects, turning them into true one-of-a-kind collectibles. And then you have missing plating errors on modern pennies where the copper layer did not fully coat the zinc core, exposing silvery patches of zinc that contrast with the normal copper color, creating striking visuals that collectors prize. And when you add to this list possible wrong planchet errors where a cent is struck on a dime planchet or even a foreign coin planchet by accident, the imagination runs wild with possibilities, and any one of these mistakes or a combination of them could explain why the 2017 D penny reached the unbelievable $4 million figure. But beyond the technicalities of minting errors lies the human element, because collectors are driven by passion, curiosity, and the thrill of discovery. And sometimes the story behind a coin is just as important as the coin itself. And the 2017 D penny carries with it the aura of being a modern-day treasure, a coin that reminds us that even in the age of mass production, where billions of identical items roll off the line, imperfection still exists, and those imperfections can be worth a fortune. And as we imagine the countless jars, drawers, piggy banks, and pockets where 2017 D pennies reside today, it is exciting to think that maybe, just maybe, another incredible error coin is out there waiting to be discovered, waiting to turn a casual collector into a millionaire overnight. And that is what makes this story so captivating, because it is not just about one coin, it is about the possibility that one of us could stumble across such a treasure without even knowing it. And so as we reflect on the legend of the 2017 D penny worth $4 million, we see more than just a coin. We see a symbol of chance, rarity, and the enduring fascination that tiny details can have in the grand world of numismatics. And we realize that no coin is ever truly ordinary, because behind every coin there could be a story waiting to be told, a mistake waiting to be discovered, and a fortune waiting to be claimed. So the next time you come across a 2017 D penny, take a moment to look closely at it, examine its details, check for doubling, off-center strikes, missing letters, odd textures, or anything that seems unusual, because who knows, it might be the one, the extraordinary piece that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, the 1-cent coin into a $4 million marvel. And as always, we invite you to continue this journey with us by staying engaged, searching your own coins, and keeping the passion alive, because the world of rare coins is vast and full of surprises, and who knows, the next great discovery might be sitting right there in your change.